Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double 18 podcast. I am your host, Stephen Nagishi. Normally, me and Ken Fang normally do our live stream at this time of the day, but Ken wanted to reschedule, so we are doing our regularly scheduled Bears conversation. Joining me is my good friend who has been very, very busy. Bears YouTuber Rishab Shakiri from his YouTube channel, The Windy City Productions. Below me is a guest who we've had not too long ago from allchgo.com, Herb Lawrence, kind enough to join me just before the start of the baseball season. And below Rishab is another returning guest. She is also a Bears YouTuber right now, Miss Alexis Jade. Everybody, thank you very much for joining me tonight. And it's been a while, obviously, Rishab. We had you, and the last couple of times, Herb and Alexis were joined me, and since then, a lot of things have happened, and obviously, the biggest news that we've had to talk about is Justin Fields officially traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we only got a sixth-round pick as a compensation, and certainly we've had a lot of time to digest since that trade, probably maybe about a little over a week or two since the trade was commiserated. And Herb, I want to get your thoughts on the Justin Fields era, and how will you remember Justin Fields era in Chicago?
It's twofold because the Bears themselves kind of failed Justin Fields with putting him in as early as they did in the game that they did versus the Cleveland Browns, that first game with Matt Nagy at the reins, and he got sacked 9 times. It was not fair to him. And then through the years, really didn't develop him into the quarterback that he should have been at year 3. Now, Justin Fields has some blame there too for not progressing in the system as he should have been, either under Loggins or the latest guy. But I think for the Bears to trade Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick, I understand the ramifications and how Ryan Pace was more doing Justin a favor to get him out there in Pittsburgh instead of other teams that he would have been just strictly a backup and then maybe having his career wash away. There's no better team and no better situation for Justin Fields to get himself into than to go out there with Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin and that Pittsburgh Steelers outfit, especially with Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator, and get the job done. I'll see, and I'm guaranteeing this, that Justin Fields will look much better as a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers than he did look for the Chicago Bears. Now, will he be a top 10 quarterback? I'm not sure, but I think they will put the resources and the knowledge behind Justin Fields to get him ready to play. I know that they say that Russell Wilson is the starter. That will last for about 10 weeks, and then it's Justin Fields' time. So I am very excited for his future. I'm excited for the Bears' future, and finally getting some solid, kind of like a period to the end of Justin Fields' Bears career. While many Bears fans feel for the young man leaving, it's a good start for everybody involved. Good start for the Bears to go on without Justin, and good for Justin to go on without the Bears.
Alexis, where were you when the trade happened? And I know you have been kind of defending him throughout offseason. And now that the trade has happened and he's no longer with the Bears, where were you emotionally when the trade happened, and where are you right now?
Well, I mean, I can tell you where I was physically. I was in the kitchen getting ready to cook a late dinner, and I just hear my little phone notification, and I'm like, I had just been planning to do a podcast the next day, and I was like, God dang it. Now I have to change my schedule and do a podcast tonight. But yeah, I mean, I've been defending Justin Fields, but at the same time, I agree with everything Herb said, and I have kind of known for a while that most likely they were leaning and drafting Caleb. So I've come and accepted the reality. But I mean, he's still one of my favorite players I've seen in a Bears uniform, regardless. It sucks to see him go, but I understand, why it happened. I think what Pohl said today was very interesting, because I think more so now this was always going to be the case for Ryan Poles, regardless of how Fields performed this year. So yeah, I mean, sad to see him go, but I agree. I think he's going to do well in Pittsburgh, and I just hope he has a great career, and I hope we have a great quarterback here, and it's just the best of both worlds for everyone.
Rashab, you've been kind of away for the last couple of weeks, and now that the trade has officially happened, how would you look back Justin's career? Is it kind of like what Herb said? He was never properly given the opportunity to develop with the Bears, given the horrendous mishandling from the day he was drafted by Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to Ryan Poles, who was pretty much dead set on getting his guy. And how would you like to see him progress moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's both, Justin's fault and the Bears' fault. I still think I'm not sure like what percentage of the blame I put towards Justin or the team, but it's undoubtedly a fact, right, that the Bears did not put him in a good position to succeed in his first year, gave him a lame duck head coach, not a good supporting cast. Year 2, Ryan Poles does a complete rebuild, tears apart the team, gets rid of all the talent on the team, and then he gets 1 year to prove himself. And yes, I do admit, like, he had enough in that year 3 at times to put more on tape than he actually did put. So some of the blame also goes towards Justin for not progressing as a passer. But then again, like, the coaching, I still feel like was not the best with Luke Getsy. There still was holes on the offensive line and the receiving core too. So I think, the fact of the matter is that it's the blame falls on both the Bears and Justin Fields. It's sad that, we couldn't see him progress into the quarterback that I thought he was going to be when we drafted him. I was so excited, when we did draft him, and, we did not get to see even a glimpse of what he could have been, at his highest potential with the Chicago Bears. But like Herb said, like, I wish him all the best, in Pittsburgh. And I think going to a coach like Mike Tomlin, going into an organization like the Steelers, who, do know how to win games, how to, develop quarterbacks to some extent, I think it could be good for Justin himself. And going up against Russell Wilson in a quarterback battle, like, I think Justin can win that too, just like Herb said, because I don't view Russ as like a, high tier quarterback at this point. So I think that Justin can have the starting job, maybe by like week 8, week 10, somewhere around that time, if Russ does not have, a good start to the season. But, I'm happy it's over though, most of all, right? Because Bears Twitter has been fighting about this nonstop for the past 6-7 months. It's been very, very exhausting, but I'm glad that, we can finally move on.
Herb, I want to touch with you as somebody who's a member of the media. We knew the Fields versus Williams fan base really got into up against each other. It was very, very ugly. I know, Alexis, you have been somewhat of a victim of, Twitter sexism. I don't know, for the lack of better terms. And Herb, as somebody who works in the Chicago media, I want to ask you, why do you think that this Fields versus Williams discord really got out of this control? And how much do you put that on the Bears organization as a whole for their inability to not only draft a quarterback but also develop one? And I've been on record in saying that the Chicago Bears organization deserve a lot of blame for this nonsense that really took place this entire offseason.
I put it a lot on the Bears because I think people who wanted Justin Fields to come back see what the Bears did to him or the lack of development they had for him. But you see progression, you see the light coming, and now you get the good receivers. You get another year with DJ Moore. You get Keenan Allen coming here from the Bears. You're going to shore up the line with a good center where Justin was getting pressure all year long, right in the front of his face. You're not throwing passes to Robert Tonyan anymore. You're throwing to Jared Everett. So you get the improving on the offense, and the Bears are going to be good next year. And that's kind of where I was at. I'm a Justin Fields fan. And so I was kind of not battling against Caleb Williams, because I know Caleb Williams is pretty good, but I was battling against the kind of know-it-all, kind of patronizing voice and tone and condescending tone that people had as Caleb Williams fans, as if he's going to come in here and light it up. It's like, yes, he is, because he has a team that is set up for winning. which I think Justin would have had too. But I think the better team would have been trading out of that Caleb pick and getting that historic haul that they wanted, and then finishing out the team where it needed to be finished out. You still have Braxton Jones as your left tackle. That's a tough go. He's good, not great. So you could have got more people, like a left tackle like Joe Alt in this draft. They still can if everybody passes from him in the top 8, which I don't believe will happen. But I think the team as a whole would have been a better team if you traded out of the number 1 pick, had Justin Fields as a quarterback for the next couple of years. If he doesn't show you anything, you have another chance to draft another quarterback, because with that historic haul, you get first-round picks from this draft, next draft, and the draft after that. And so that's the only thing I was arguing. But these Caleb fans made it way too toxic, I believe. And of course, Justin fans, they had their time, and they were, kind of in their own feelings about the player. But it's understood he was the Bears quarterback at the time. Why, Bears fans should be defending the Bears quarterback and want that Bears quarterback to move on to bigger and brighter things. And so when he wasn't the Bears quarterback, just like Alexis said, I've moved on because he wasn't the Bears quarterback anymore. But up until that point, I was holding on because that is our quarterback, and I'll be rooting for him in Pittsburgh. But I just thought that the Caleb fans came with way too much condescension, way too much of a patronizing attitude towards Fields fans, as if we don't know that he was good and that Fields had a rough year. But there's so many times that Fields could have had improved stats, so these people could have looked at his win-loss record like they always do and say, oh, he had 2 or 3 more wins, or he got him into the playoffs. Remember, there's 3 games that the White Sox, see, that's on my brain because of the opening season. There's 3 games that the Bears had this year that they lost in the fourth quarter. That record could have led them to going to the playoffs and maybe a change in what the Justin Fields narrative would have been.
Mm-hmm. Alexis, somebody who dealt with your share of, Twitter attacks on your takes on the Bears. Will you be able to kind of, delve in on the mindset of, these so-called Bears fans who were ready to just, hurry out Justin Fields and, just bring in the next new shiny toy and the logic and obviously those things in this case, unfortunately, never really applied here because of the toxicity of our fan base. And how would you describe, their mindset and how you had to deal with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I agree with everything said, and I think it works both ways, right? Like, it became something where, like, you had to, like, set your flag on one side of it, and then if you didn't agree with the other side, it was like, you're an idiot. And, both the people who were very, very invested in Justin Fields and both people very invested in Caleb Williams. I just happened to get more of the flack from the Caleb Williams side because I was a person who was preferred to keep Fields. But like I've always said, I felt they were leaning in the direction of drafting Williams. But, I think people, especially, I don't know, with social media, people see what they want to see, hear what they want to hear, read what they want to read, and they interpret things however they want. Like, I'm still every day getting people in my mentions pulling tweets from February or January when Fields was still on the roster talking about how I wanted to roll with Fields. And I was like, well, yes, because I did. Like, I don't take back what I said. And I'm sure I've tweeted stupid things, but I think people just take it to an extreme. And obviously I've seen some of the very extreme sides of it, which aren't necessary, but I think some of that is just people being immature and having social media accounts when they probably shouldn't be able to have one because they clearly don't know how to behave when they have an account. But I think hopefully some of that will simmer down now with the decision being made, and I hope that it doesn't continue on into, now every time Caleb Williams does something, it's, oh, Justin Fields couldn't do that, or Justin Fields has a good game and it's Caleb Williams couldn't do that. Like, I cannot handle that going on to like this next season. This just needs to be done. And I think we've seen a whole new toxic level of what Bears fans can be. But I just think if you're really trying to tear down when Fields was still on the roster, if you're really trying to tear down the current QB on the roster, then you're not really a fan. Like, you can say, oh, I don't love his playing style, or I think we should move on, but you don't got to tear the guy down. Same with Caleb Williams now. You don't have to tear him down just because you're a fan of Justin Fields. Like, you're not really a Bears fan if you're doing any of that. Like, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, the Bears to just win a Super Bowl again. Like, I haven't seen it in my lifetime, so I don't care who's throwing the football. I'll go out there and do it if it means it gets us a Super Bowl. So yeah, I'm ready for it all to be done.
Rashad, obviously you have a very popular YouTube channel yourself, and I'm sure you've had your share of issues with people who took offense to your comments or videos, et cetera. But this obviously was such a toxicity of epic proportion. I won't mention any names. Certainly, media members, both locally and nationally, kind of jumped in and partook one. I know some Chicago media members were already on Caleb Williams' bandwagon as early as October or even November, pretty much in a somewhat of a condescending tone. I don't think I have to mention that person's name to know who I am actually referring to. But you live in Chicago yourself, as does Herb. Hearing the conversations on sports talk radio and also hearing it on social media, what was your opinion on how this totally played out, and what kind of a role do you think that local and national media just kind of gaslighted the whole thing, in your opinion, if at all?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was a lot of just stupidity on both sides. Like, nobody wanted to listen to each other on both sides, and it was just a lot of toxic BS, which obviously if you're on social media, like, you're gonna see a lot of that, which is why I have like 95% of Bears Twitter muted at this point, just because of how annoying it had become the last couple months. But obviously, like, these things happen in sports, so right, like, you're gonna discuss, especially when it's a topic as divisive as a quarterback battle, especially in a city like Chicago, where we have not had a quarterback really to wrap ourselves around, and we thought we had that in Justin Fields. So obviously, like, people were going to be mad at us potentially moving off of that quarterback, because we have a lot of diehard fans that were big fans of Justin Fields as well. So I think the passion of our fan base is why it became so divisive and toxic. And obviously it should not have been like that. Like, you should be able to talk to each other online without hurling threats at each other and like insults and all that. But that's just how social media is. I've noticed in my 6-7 years of doing social media, like, there's always going to be ugly people online, not wanting to talk to you and stuff like that. So, and in regards to like the local media, kind of, stroking the flames a little bit, I think they definitely did do that to some extent, because obviously, they need the clicks on their shows too, right? And I'm not going to, say that's wrong or right, because we all do it, right? Like, everybody in content creation, like, we need people to watch our shows, right? So like, we discuss these things. But the condescending part, like, I agree. I think that was a little bit too far from some people, both in the local media and the national media. But I'm just hoping that now the Bears fan base can come together and, just rally behind Caleb Williams and stop fighting, the Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams battle every single day. I still kind of see it on my timeline every single day, where people are bringing up tweets from Justin supporters saying, like, you're not allowed to be on the bandwagon. Like that stuff is really stupid, in my opinion. Like, we should not be gatekeeping who can be a fan of the current quarterback over like silly shit like that. So I'm ready for this whole conversation to be over. I think it's going to be over pretty soon, especially if Caleb starts winning. Like, we're not going to be talking about this ever again, hopefully, but we'll see.
And kind of in closing, I actually got into a bit of a tiff myself with this Chicago media person that I just mentioned earlier. I don't know if it was something that I ate the day before. I wasn't feeling well, but I kind of attacked him, and he's the kind of person that would immediately jump off Caleb Williams' bandwagon and start ripping him, and and so forth. Even to a point where he would use maybe that hopefully he doesn't use racial epithet. Well, certainly he didn't took it kindly, and I have to admit that I was wrong. I got into a bit of a I got caught up in myself, and I apologize to the person, but certainly this person did not accept my apologies, and I certainly understand. But I ended up getting involved myself, and last week's show with my co-host Ken Fang, I took liberty to close out the show in apologizing for what I did, because obviously I wasn't insinuating that person was a racist of any kind. Certainly has a pretty stellar reputation within the industry, and I learned my lessons from this Fields versus Williams battle myself, and in closing, Justin, we all will remember him for all the fantastic highlights that he brought to us in a short time, especially when the Bears were so bad. I think his first 2 years, total 9 wins and 25 losses, was, as Herb mentioned earlier, he was, screwed by, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's desperate attempt to save their jobs. We all remember the 9-sack game against Cleveland, and that really, had a massive impact on him. But, his personality and leadership skills is something that I think we will all miss. And that, whatever he does, even outside of football, he carried himself with such a, charisma and maturity. I believe that he can be very successful even after life in football, no matter how his career turns out in Pittsburgh. So we're going to move on to another subject. And now that we know Caleb Williams is more than likely go number one, and I'm going to play a clip here of Ryan Poles' interview that Jade was talking about earlier. Here's his take. Here's Ryan Poles' take on why things didn't work out for Justin Fields in Chicago. Take a listen.
There's a lot to unpack there. I think, if you go through the whole deal, like in the very beginning, I think that was a choppy start, rookie year. And then when I came in, we had some cleaning up to do, which then delayed another year of adding talent and supporting. And then just in terms of the game, I feel like he was making strides and improving. The problem is, and it's really, and that's what I try to explain, it wasn't Justin versus one of these rookies. It's really the timeline and how much runway that you have, because really to get a guy up off the ground, you need to support him with as much talent as possible. And then that flips, because then they take so much cap space, which is a good thing if you get to that point. But then they have to be the reason you start winning. So then it's harder to add the talent, around them. And you can look around the league, and it happens a lot. And really, the teams that can sustain success through that period, I think, do a really special job.
Okay, Herb, let me start with you. Do you at least appreciate Ryan Poles' honesty from listening to his take on why it didn't work out for Justin Fields?
Yeah, it's refreshing. It's great to hear that a guy is taking a little ownership on why Justin Fields failed here as a Chicago Bears quarterback. And he explained exact reasons why. We were just talking about, like, the first year with Matt Nagy and just trading players away. You trade away all the good defensive players you have, including Roquan Smith, and you have no help for Justin Fields. He's throwing out there to Byron Pringle and garbage like that.
Byron Pringle, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and so he and this was mostly why everybody understood why Justin is not coming back, is because the 4th and 5th year, you would have to pick up that 5th year option, and you don't have the luxury of saying, okay, will Justin do it? Even though we didn't give him enough help to do it, but can he do it? Maybe, but can we afford for him to do it? No. So let's reset that rookie clock so we can have a rookie deal in here so we can supplement all the rest of the people on the team. That's what all winning teams do. That's what the Chiefs did when they had Patrick Mahomes on a rookie deal. That's what the Bills try to do with Josh Allen. That's what every good team does when they have a young rookie quarterback. They get them some good support out there. They tried to do that with Trevor Lawrence for last year. It didn't work out too tough with Ridley. Now I think he's a Titan. So, yeah, it's understandable, and I love that the general manager is being honest with us instead of the mealy mouthing and well, this, that, and the other. No, he's straight up. He had a tough conversation that he had to have with a player that he actually loves, and that's a good general manager to, like the player, like the person, but have to have some tough conversations with people because he knows that in the best interest of the Bears, in his opinion, is to go and get Caleb Williams.
Rashab, Ryan Poles offered as honestly as possible. He said that breaking the news to his son, who was a Fields fan, was a very, very difficult thing to do. And obviously, as a GM, he has to obviously do what's in the best interest for the team, both long and short term. What was your biggest takeaway on listening to Poles' explanation on Justin Fields there?
Yeah, just like how real he is, right? Like he's not one of those fake people that's just saying things for the hell of it. Like he's actually saying things with substance behind it, which a lot of GMs don't really do. A lot of it is just like lying. And obviously Poles lies too. Like he obviously lied a little bit this offseason when talking about the quarterback spot in some regards, right? So he has to lie here and there, but I think he does for the most part, like say what he's actually feeling, what he's actually thinking, which I think players around the league are going to appreciate the fact that he is real with the media and he is real about, taking into account players' emotions, the teammates' emotions. He talked about the locker room, breaking the news to certain members of the Bears locker room. I think it's only like certain people that are really close to Justin Fields. He told them about the trade first before they found out from the media, which I'm sure they're going to appreciate. Ryan Poles taking that into account. And I know he talked about his son, being mad about the trade as well. And that just shows you like the human side of sports is like not really discussed that often, but it should be discussed. And a lot of people were sad about Fields moving on. So, I'm happy that Ryan Poles did take the time to talk to the media about why he made the decision, the reasoning behind it, and also, explain to Fields like why he did that too. I think that was pretty important as well. So, I was a big fan of what, Poles said here about Justin Fields.
Jade, obviously the Bears only got a 6th-round pick compared to the other teams who were getting, maybe a few rounds higher for players like Desmond Ridder and even some Sam Howell. And I think a lot of us who were head scratching and were trying to figure out why we only got a 6th-round pick. But did that explanation on Justin Fields and resetting the clock and timeline, doing what's in the best interest for him and everything, does that kind of now seem to add up when you see and listen what Ryan Poles is doing? Or do you still feel like, I think we could have gotten a lot more for Justin?
No, I think that was probably the most interesting part of what he said. I mean, I think he essentially, depending on how you looked at it, he confirmed almost everyone's theories, because I think based on what he said, regardless of what Fields did this season, pretty much, he acknowledged that, Fields didn't have the resources his rookie season, and Poles was given a mess, had no choice but to tear everything down his second season. And by the time it got to Fields' third season to prove it, it still wasn't great. Then Justin Fields gets injured. And now at the point where you're at with Justin Fields, which part of it is to his own fault, but Poles essentially insinuated that most of it is outside circumstances. And at this point, the best thing for the team going forward and for Justin Fields is get a new QB here on a rookie contract and let Fields go start over somewhere new and have time to develop. So I think it kind of aligned with, I think depending on where you fall, you can find something to point out and be like, I was right. So I think like what he said really made a lot of sense. And in terms of the pick and compensation, I just think it is what it is at this point. Like the market was going to be the market. And I think Poles got what he could for Fields, but I also think Poles was definitely intentional with where Justin Fields went, because he wanted him to go somewhere where he had the best chance to go. He even said it. He thinks basically he can go to Pittsburgh and kind of beat out Russell Wilson eventually for that starter position. So I think he did right by Justin. He did right by the Bears. And I think it all makes sense. And like the guys already said, I think him being as transparent as he was, even talking about his son and everything else, I think it just reaffirms my like belief that Ryan Poles is really thinking this thing through and wants to make this like the best Bears team he possibly can.
My guests tonight are Rashab Shakiri from the Bears YouTube channel, the Windy City Productions, Herb Lawrence from CHGO, and Alexis Jade, also a Bears YouTuber as well. Stephen Nagishi hanging out with you to talk about the Bears free agency and in the draft tonight. Let's talk about the free agency. I think it's pretty much a done deal right now. I don't think that the Bears won't be making any more additions. I think they're all locked in on the draft at this point. Rashab, since I haven't spoken to you in a while, let me start with you. Of all the free agencies that the Bears have made so far, how would you rate them on from an A to F scale? Would you give them a solid B plus or A minus at this point?
I'd say a B, maybe B plus to be a little bit optimistic. I feel like we could have done more on the defensive line specifically. Like we didn't do a lot on the defensive line. I can't even think of like one major addition we made there besides some rotational guys. And we did have cap space to maybe do a big splash there. But I'm also not going to complain too much because Ryan Poles wanted to build this team through the NFL draft. So the Bears do have the opportunity to draft an edge rusher if they want to, pick number 9 or some other pick. So I'm not too worried about the defensive line, but that's one area where I feel like we could have made a bigger splash. But besides that, I feel like we addressed a lot of needs. We got, Ryan Bates via trade for depth. We got Coleman Shelton to start at center, which I'm really happy about to finally get, starting level option at center who, he's not like top of the league, but he's still like average, which, compared to Cody Whitehair, compared to, Sam Mustipher, that's a big upgrade, right? So happy to get offensive line upgrades. We also did get Gerald Everett to, as a tight end number 2, the move tight end. He could be fantastic next to Cole Kmet, being the receiving option for Caleb Williams in the end zone down the field, next to Kmet. So he could be a big option for, the Bears in the passing game. And you also added DeAndre Swift, who I know some Bears fans were, they didn't want to pay him that much money, but I think he was a good acquisition, right? Like he's a receiving option out of the backfield. He's shifty. He's electric. He's going to want revenge over Detroit twice a year. So there's that factor too. So I think that addition was also pretty cool. And then you also got Kevin Byard, who I know is getting old, but he's, I think he still had like 2 interceptions. I don't think he had many interceptions last year, but like the year before, I believe he had like 4 or 5. And don't remember if he made the Pro Bowl that year, but like he was really good before last year, before he played in that Eagles Matt Patricia defense, which I'm not going to fault anybody for not playing well in Matt Patricia's defense, right? So I think all in all, like the Bears made a lot of veteran moves, did not break the bank too much. I didn't even talk about Keenan Allen, but obviously like that was a big time acquisition too for only a round pick. So I was very happy with Ryan Poles' free agency. I just wish maybe we did a little bit more on the defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. Jade, certainly the Bears started the free agency in a fast way, signing, I think, DeAndre Swift 2 minutes into the, legal tampering period. Were you kind of surprised that Swift was the actual, the first person that the Bears actually signed, or do you like the Swift signing?
Yeah, I think I was actually watching the CHGO Bears podcast because they broke it when they were live when DeAndre Swift was acquired, and it made sense to me. Like we've known that Herbert is good, but he's not great. He's not making up for the loss of David Montgomery. I thought he would, he didn't, and Roschon Johnson didn't really do enough to prove himself. I still like him, but both of them. We were a heavy run team, and I think we still will be this year, especially with a rookie quarterback. I don't really think that's going to change much. So, especially with injuries, you need to have another back, and we needed another like powerhouse running back. And I really don't think we overpaid for him by any means, and we had the money to spend. So, spend it on a position and they got one of the top free agent running backs that we could get. So I like it. I mean, yeah, he has some injury concerns, but I feel like almost every single running back does, just because it's a heavy duty, I guess, position to play. But yeah, I like the pick. I didn't really have any concerns with it. I think the money was fair. I thought the pick was good, and I think he's going to be a good addition to the running back room.
Mm-hmm. Herb, after that signing, the Bears had a very sporadic signings here and there, mostly on 1-year deals. And then when the things were really, really getting tight and antsy, Ryan Poles pulled off a Keenan Allen trade only for a 4th-round pick now. How do you rate that move? And do you think that this is a kind of like a rental move, or do you feel like both sides, Allen's camp and Ryan Poles, will eventually kind of work out a, maybe a short-term 2-3 year deal to kind of help facilitate and help out the expected drafting of Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I think it'll be the best for all parties involved if they work out like a 3-year deal where, guaranteed money's not that much, but you spread out some of that cap money throughout the years instead of just Keenan Allen playing on a contract for his last year right now. It was a great deal. Like, I know the Chargers had to get rid of some people where they got cap savings from Bosa and from Khalil Mack, where they asked them both to, lower their number and take a pay cut. And Keenan Allen's like, nope, not about that, guys. You're going to have to do something else. And that's smart. They're not paying you extra money when you try to have your contract renegotiated. So you shouldn't be able to give back money when they're running up against some cap issues like the LA Chargers are. So they had to give up a 4th-round pick, which the Bears in this draft only have like 4 picks left in this draft. So it's kind of a lot, but for a 1,200-yard receiver who only played 13 games, well worth it. I know he's going to be 32, and people are looking up at age, and he'll lose a step. Keenan Allen's not really a speed receiver. He's more of a possession / get open receiver. Like, he understands how to run the route tree and to get open in zones, get open in man, etc., etc. You have 2 guys like that now. Younger version DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. It just makes spectacular catches anytime he's on the field. And I know people worried about his injuries, but for the most part, he's played a good amount of the last 5 years. I know he missed 4 games last year, but that's just wear and tear on the body. I think if you get 13 games out of Keenan Allen this upcoming season, count your blessings, and 1,200 yards will be the same thing next year, because when you got Caleb Williams, the guy who was a prolific passer, you got DJ Moore on the other side. Who you guarding? Exactly. You got Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett in the middle. Who you guarding? DeAndre Swift out coming out of the backfield. You're going to have to choose one, and you're going to choose wrong each time. And that's what the Bears need, somebody to put the defense in conflict. DJ Moore would get double teamed and such and not go away, but, it'll be tougher to throw balls to him. Now you can't double team DJ Moore. If you do, you're in trouble. Keenan Allen's going to come and get you. Or Cole Kmet in his, 4th, 5th year. So, yeah, the Bears have done extremely well this offseason. I look for them to have, as I think one of the people had said, like an edge rusher, somebody on the defensive line to help out a little bit more. I see A.J. Epinesa still out there as a nice rush.
Actually, I think he re-signed with the Buffalo Bills.
Damn it. Did he? I didn't see that. Damn it.
Yeah, he re-signed, unfortunately. He's a local guy, played at Iowa and everything. Yeah,
that would have been a rotational guy that I would have loved. But, they got people available. If they can get somebody of that ilk where he's young, inexpensive, and can go along with the other side of Sweat, man, the Bears be cooking with gas.
I think we might have to settle for re-signing Yannick Ngakoue to a cheap as he recovers from his injury late in the season. But, yeah, I'm just glad that it was Keenan Allen, not Mike Williams, as talented as Williams is. He is so injury, every single year. And it's unfortunate for Mike Williams, who ended up also getting cut by the Chargers and signed with the Jets. And, we got a very good one in Keenan Allen. So hopefully, he's got a couple of good years left to help Caleb Williams. So we're on the subject of Caleb Williams, and let's talk about, the realistic expectations for Caleb Williams in 2024. He had his private workout at the USC last week. At least he put on a show, and he's seems to be really, debunking all the, any myth or any perceptions about him. His so-called desire to go to Chicago. I know I was one of those people who was really worried about all the off the field stuff and just how much he wanted to force his way into his hometown in Washington. But it seems as though as every expert would say, the Bears are giving Caleb Williams a best opportunity to succeed as a number one overall pick of any quarterbacks that was picked in the past. Troy Aikman, David Carr, Peyton Manning, Trevor Lawrence, and Bryce Young from last year. So, Jade, let's start with you. Now people are kind of like, well, let's slow down on the, Caleb Williams's expectations and stuff like that. Where are you in terms of, if you have any specific numbers, you can definitely throw it out there. What do you want to see out of Caleb Williams realistically this upcoming year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about like specific numbers, but I think he does have to have a high expectations, like we talked about in the beginning, like you just said. I mean, he's not only coming into probably arguably one of the best situations a rookie QB has ever gone into, let alone for the Bears, is he's also a prospect that's been deemed as one of the best prospects in generations, they say, or like since Joe Burrow or Peyton Manning. So like he has high expectations without the situation he's being put into. So I don't think you can like simmer expectations, especially when you look at where the Chicago Bears team is. Like regardless of who's quarterback, this team is being built because they think they can contend right now in this division. And it's not going to be an easy division either. I actually think in terms of expectations for him, I actually think Adam Hodge from CHGO, again, said a good example in saying, I think his floor should be what Justin Fields ended at in year 3. Like, I think that's a fair expectation. When you look at Justin Fields' numbers from his third year, it's not that difficult to beat. And that's not a diss at Justin Fields. We all know he was out for like 4 to 5 games and the circumstances around it. But when you look at the team that's been built up since then, and you look at the expectations of what Caleb Williams is set out to apparently be in the NFL, I think saying that he should have a season a little bit better than what Justin Fields did in year 3 is probably a pretty fair estimation, which means he only has to throw for like over 2,800 yards. Like if he throws for 3,000 yards, a little under, a little over, a few more touchdowns, you can expect maybe a few more interceptions because he's a rookie. But I think around those numbers and a little better than what Fields did is probably the fairest like basis to go off of, in my opinion.
Rashab, do you agree with that? Miss Alexis Jade's expectation on Caleb Williams as a rookie, or do you have a little more higher aspiration for him to do so because of the situation that he walks in, which is a lot better than any of the top quarterbacks that was picked in the past?
No, I agree. I think what Justin had last year should be like a baseline for what Caleb has to have at the very least. If he had anything below, 2,800 passing yards, like I think that would be a disappointment of a season, given all the weapons we have around him, given the fact that, Shane Waldron is an experienced play caller that got the best out of Geno Smith. Had some success with Drew Lock as well. So like, I think he has to have at least around that 3,000 mark to call it a success, next year. But I'm also not going to put crazy high expectations on him because he is going to be a rookie. We still have not seen him play in the NFL. And as much as we want him to be CJ Stroud only happens once every, 10 years? Like you never get CJ Stroud seasons. Like that was very, very lucky that CJ Stroud had that type of season where he had 4,000 passing yards, like 20 something touchdowns, 4 interceptions, some crazy number like that. So, I'm not expecting MVP level play out of Caleb Williams. I think it's possible, though, as crazy as it may sound, for him to break the Bears' all-time passing record in his rookie year, which is not even that crazy. I think it's like 3,800 passing yards, which he only needs like 230 yards per game for that to happen. Again, I'm not expecting that, but I think it's possible that happens just because we have him now. We have DJ Moore. We're going to add another option maybe in the NFL draft. Like this is probably the best receiving core the Bears have ever had in their 100-year history, right? So we should be expecting a lot out of Caleb. But again, I'm not going to be putting that, 4,000 yard expectation on him in year 1. I think that's a little bit too much. Like some Bears fans have been saying, like some Bears fans in my comment sections have been saying, if he does not have a Stroud type season, he's a bust. Like obviously not. Like it may take him 1 or 2 years to become the quarterback he can be, but he needs to at least have, a season that Justin Fields had last year for him to have a successful rookie season.
Herb, a lot has been made about Bears needing to get a veteran quarterback like Steve Tannehill, who was a former starter with the Tennessee Titans. Still out there. Obviously, the Bears messed up Justin Fields' development badly, and certainly they can learn from that experience. How important is it for head coach Matt Eberflus to kind of make sure that develop a relationship with Caleb and have the patience to make sure that Caleb is ready mentally and physically while maybe he sets out a couple of games, because I know the Bears try to do the same with Trubisky, and they obviously failed miserably with Mike Glennon. When Fields was drafted, you had Andy Dalton, and Dalton just was hurt and was thrown in. Fields was thrown into the Cleveland game, and we all know that 9-sack game. Certainly, the past examples are there. How important is it for Matt Eberflus to make sure he kind of shows, perhaps a restraint to throw Caleb Williams into the action?
Well, I am if you draft a quarterback in the first round, I am a person that believes that person should play, especially 1-1. Like, he should play immediately. Right. Now, I know people are going to bring up Green Bay. Please, show me our Brett Favre. Oh, show me my Aaron
never
Rodgers.
Had one, unfortunately.
Yeah, show me my Aaron Rodgers. Or they're going to bring up Caleb or damn it.
Jordan Love?
No, I don't know why I'm blanking. Patrick Mahomes. Like, show me my Alex Smith. Show me where Alex Smith is at, and I'll play that guy. That's why the Bears failed, because they're putting Mike Glennon out there or Andy Dalton. What are those quarterbacks supposed to learn from those mediocre to bad quarterbacks? Like, you can do the sit out thing if you have a quarterback that's playing on a Pro Bowl level, like Brett Favre, like Aaron Rodgers, like Alex Smith. But you can't just do it with, like, Ryan Tannehill's past his prime. I don't want to see him play a down for the Bears. If Caleb Williams is the guy that they say he is, he should play from game one. And there's no better, as everybody has been talking about, no better landing spot than having the offense that he has right now, and especially the defense that he has right now. And I am like, CJ Stroud set the rookie record. And if you ask anybody about the prospect of being a quarterback of CJ Stroud or Caleb Williams, people would say Caleb Williams is the best quarterback out of those two. And he had Tank Dell and Alex Collins, like regular ass receivers who did nothing. Well, Collins didn't do anything, or Nico Collins, before he got there. And Tank Dell was a rookie. He was good, but I expect him to throw for at least 230 yards each game. So in a 17-week game, that's 4,000 yards. And if he only plays 15, that's still 3,500 yards. That's still representative of what a quarterback in this position should do. And so I'm not a big time advocate of a player drafted 1-1 sitting down and learning from a quarterback that he's better than. And so, yeah, if they bring in Tannehill, they already brought in Rippon. I want Caleb Williams starting from day one, because that's what 1-on-1 means, and generational talent means you're ready to go with all the faults in that first year, like Peyton Manning did, and then battle through and then get the results at the end.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Bears are probably considering adding a veteran quarterback. But if you're a veteran quarterback, you're going to be replaced by Caleb Williams at some point. So, you don't want to be seen as a, caretaker, because, you still feel like you have a lot to offer, and you still feel like you are one of the, 32 quarterbacks who deserve to have a starting job. So I don't know how the Bears will proceed with this one. And it's very interesting to see if Tyson Bagent is going to be the guy that will likely back up Caleb Williams, and how high they are, and how new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron sees, or what he sees in Tyson Bagent moving forward. All right, let's close out the show and on this topic here. We know, the number one overall pick, that's Caleb Williams. That's a given. So the 9th overall pick, which is the Bears' original pick, that's an interesting conversation now that we have to start focusing on right now. Scenario one, of course, is to stay there at 9 and pray that maybe a wide receiver like Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze stays. But on the downside, the Bears only have 4 picks. Now, we gave it away a second-round pick for, Montez Sweat last year, and we gave up a 4th-round pick for Keenan Allen. So that if you include those picks as a part of an addition for this upcoming year, Sweat was a mid-season acquisition. A full season under Matt Eberflus' defense will certainly make him a better pass rusher now that he's going to be, in best shape and that he understands the system much more. Herb, let me start with you. Would you stick with the 9th overall pick in hopes of a wide receiver if Malik Neighbors or Odunze somehow stumbles at 9? You would take either one of them, and who would you pick?
I would actually find a way, and I don't know if a trade is possible with the 9th pick and the next year's 2nd-round pick, which the Carolina Panthers still owe the Bears. And I don't know if that's enough, but if it is, I'm moving that pick so I can get Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not waiting back and just chilling and waiting for Rona Duze or Malik Neighbors or anybody who's going to be there. But if I did stay there and say Malik and Roan were gone, I'm going for Brock Bowers then. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to get the best of the best. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., I believe, is the best player in this draft, bar none. He will be a Hall of Famer at the end of his career type of stuff. And then Brock Bowers is the best tight end in this draft, bar none. And I know you just got Gerald Everett. I'm sorry, brother. It's Brock Bowers time, and he can line up as a wide receiver too, and he can block with the best of them. So I gotta get the skill position guy that is just gonna hit. And on this team, that is gonna be Marvin Harrison Jr. and find a way to get up to either 3 or 4. Well, 4 probably won't do it because the Arizona Cardinals are probably going to be drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. But if the Patriots want to draft, fall out of there, like their guy at 2 or their guy at 3 is not there, and they want to get some more picks, which is the smart move for the Patriots in their first year under Gerard Mayo, go and get the Bears' 9th pick. You can still get your quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, there, and then you can get a pick for next year. That's probably going to be early because the Carolina Panthers are still going to suck next year. So that's what I would get.
Mm-hmm. Jade, would you be willing to give up Carolina's 2nd-round pick next year if the Bears were in position to move up and get the any of the receivers, Harrison Odunze or Malik Neighbors, or would you kind of look at the Bears picks right now, which is only 4, and would you kind of trade down into the teens and maybe get receivers like Brian Thomas Jr. or even further down and get Ladd McConkey because this year's receivers are so deep?
I mean, like if you're asking what I want to do, I want, like Herb said, give me a Brock Bowers, give me a Marvin Harrison Jr. Like I want a top skill position player. However, I think this could shake out in a lot of ways. I think Poles kind of hinted in his presser. Like, I don't know if he's going to be trying to get a bunch of draft capital this year because he kind of basically said he's comfortable with where they're at draft-wise with the talent in the draft this year. And I think a lot of the guys he anticipates to be in the draft next year, where we have 11 picks as of right now, I think. So I could see Poles trading one of those picks with the number 9 to trade up and get one of those skill players. I could also see him waiting at 9 and seeing how the QB thing shakes out and seeing like if he ends up having his choice of like Neighbors or Bowers or any of those top guys at number 9, he might just sit there and wait. Or he might even, if like 3 of the 5 guys he wants is still sitting there at 9 and he knows the 2 people below him don't want who he wants, kind of like what he did with the Eagles last year, he might trade back 1 to 2 spots to just pick up another pick in the 2nd round and maybe draft like Brock Bowers at number 10 or number 11. Like I think there's so many ways this could shake out. I really think it depends on the draft order. But yeah, if you're asking me what I want Marvin Harrison Jr., I want Brock Bowers, I want one of the top skill position guys. Obviously, we need another defensive end, but I think right now the top like offensive pieces are right there, and I just want one of them, especially to learn under Keenan Allen, like while we still have him.
Right. Rashab, There have been a lot of rumors that the Bears might be looking to draft maybe an offensive lineman like Joe Alt if he's there at 9. We mentioned the Bears needing another edge rusher to, help offset the pressure from Montez Sweat, Jared Burris from Florida State. Let's see. UCLA's Layatu Latu, who has who was once medically retired, but he came back and went to UCLA and become an incredible pass rusher right there. And I know I'm probably forgetting one other guy there, so forgive me for that. In terms of there's one other player there, but would you be willing to kind of veer off, get and go to maybe solidify the I'm sorry, Dallas Turner is one guy I was thinking about from Alabama. But would you kind of see polls maybe, veer away and, draft an offensive lineman or an edge rusher at the 9th spot? Or would you rather see him, continue to give more weapons to, for Caleb Williams, assumingly they stay at the 9th overall pick or even lower?
Yeah, I don't know because I think he likes Braxton Jones. Like, I think he's okay with Braxton Jones for the next 2 years at least. And Braxton Jones has been ascending. Like, he got better last year. Like, he's comfortably a starting left tackle, which is very hard to find starting left tackles in this league, let alone, in the 5th round, right? So I think he likes Braxton, wants to keep him. But if Joe Alt does fall to pick number 9, I think he might select him, right? Because at this point, he has the opportunity to go BPA, best player available, because we have depth. We have starters at basically every single spot. So if he does want to go after Joe Alt, Olufashanu, who actually played high school ball with Caleb Williams, by the way, so that would be a cool reunion for them, on the left side of the offensive line. I think it's possible for sure, but I don't think it's very likely. Like, I think he still does want to go after one of the skill positions, like Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors, like the other two guys, Alexis and Herb said, like maybe trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr., Brock Bowers, whatever, like that'd be fantastic, right? Especially if you get Marvin Harrison Jr., you have the best receiving core by far in the NFL on day 1 for Caleb Williams. Like, how fantastic would that be? But I still think there's a chance he trades back to in the draft if anybody wants to come up, because if he is able to get a 2nd round pick in this draft, there's going to be a very good player available in the 2nd round, at the spot, maybe on the offensive line, maybe a defensive player in the 2nd round, where you're just adding more starters, more depth to this roster. And Ryan Poles loves, adding depth and adding pieces to a roster, right? So I still think he wants to trade back to some extent. So if you do trade back from, let's say, 9 to, 15, 16, you can still get a Latu, any of the other edge rushers. Maybe even like I've been seeing Brock Bowers fall to like the mid 1st round in some of these mock drafts. So what if you trade back, still get Brock Bowers, still get a 2nd round pick? Like, that's certainly possible. So I think it's going to depend on what the circumstances are going to be on draft night. Like, you never really know until it actually happens. But whatever the Bears do, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be happy, because it's very, very little things I'd actually be mad at the Bears doing in the draft this year.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about Brock Bowers, Herb, do you look at him as like a more of a hybrid tight end? Do you look at him and like say that's a bigger receiver who can stretch the field? And is that why a lot of you guys kind of like, if Brock Bowers is there, we should get him? How do you feel about that, Herb?
Yeah, just physicality, athleticism. Just he's the prototypical what tight ends are now. Going into the future, like he's Travis Kelce with burners. He's just a beast of a player and played in the toughest conference in America and dominated there. So yeah, and he can put him on the line. He can do his damage there and then get him off as either X or Y tight end. And he's just a difference maker that you don't see often coming in the draft. And so I'm very, very high on him. If it happens with my man said up there, man, if he's a mid-round guy and you trade it back to like 14, 15, and he's still there, man, you cooking with real serious gas there. Then in the 2nd round, you can go and get, if he's still there, the center from Oregon. Was it Jackson Powers? You can get him.
Johnson, yeah.
You can get that man. I mean, they're really in like he said, Ryan Poles is in a great position. Whatever he does, I think he's going to strike gold in this team this year. That's why most Bears fans were kind of up in arms and having those battles, because they know that this team is going to be great. And you're just waiting for the team to be finished and finalized, and then seeing what it's going to happen next year, because I know they're in the NFC North and it's tough, and the Packers and the Lions and the Vikings look tough, but no one's going to mess with the Bears next year if they get the team that they're going to bring on the field this year, and they stay healthy too.
That's true. All right, let me finish off with this question. Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors? Who would you rather have? Rashab, who would you rather have?
I'd say Roma Dunze, just because we already have a receiver like Malik Neighbors and DJ Moore, who's elite after the catch. I think he led all of college football in yards after the catch last year, but Roma Dunze led all of college football in contested catches, which we need more of that, right? Like, we don't have that X receiver that can go up and get a ball, that can also block, that can, be the outside, option. So I think in terms of like fit, I would go Roma Dunze, but you cannot go wrong, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Jade, if the Bears stay at number 9 and all 3 receivers that we mentioned are gone, and if you had to make a pick between an offensive tackle or an edge rusher, who would you choose?
Yeesh. I mean, it depends who's the edge rusher that's left. Like, if Joe Alt is there, I'm probably taking Joe Alt. But if there's a top talent edge rusher, I would be tempted to go edge rusher just because we have loaded up on offense. But at the same time, we have a rookie quarterback. It doesn't hurt us to keep loading up on offense. In worst case, we just bring Ngakoue back, and he's our other edge rusher for the year. But yeah, it depends on who the edge rusher is. But if Joe Alt is there, I think I'm taking Alt.
Mm-hmm. And Herb, we'll finish this one. Minnesota has the 11th and I believe the 23rd from Houston that they got last week. How far do you think that the Minnesota would move up to get which type of quarterback, in your opinion?
It's really tough, because I just saw a podcast with a former tight end, Kyle Rudolph of the Minnesota Vikings, and he says that the offense that the coach runs up there is very difficult for a rookie to digest and to play in that rookie year, because, he said the quarterbacks that have been running the offense, and Kirk Cousins and then Matthew Stafford when he was in L.A., are veteran quarterbacks who understand, already have an NFL base of how they're going to run their offense, and then Kevin O'Connell puts in his scheme. And so it would take one of those quarterbacks, that we're talking about earlier. Like, didn't they sign some, like,
Sam Darnold, I believe.
Yeah, they Sam Darnold. That guy will start this year for the Minnesota Vikings, unfortunately for them, fortunately for the rest of the NFC North. And then they'll come up and get like a JJ McCarthy type of guy, which I don't see. I don't see what other people see in him being a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. He's a pick to me that is a developmental pick, so I don't pick him in the first round. It's a luxury that few teams have. I think he really plays like a second or third-round guy, but he'll get overdrafted because he played under an NFL system and what Jim Harbaugh did at Michigan. I don't see him. I don't see a quarterback you draft that they went in the Penn State game and just like, we're going to do like 15 consecutive runs to win the game and not throw the ball with your first round quarterback. Come on now. But I see that as the Vikings pick, and then eventually drafting him and developing him and seeing him after like year 2 or year 3.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we'll close. We'll put a bow on this show, and I want to thank all 3 of you for coming on, and we have a incredible amount of people who probably been following us tonight. Obviously Herb is from CHGO, which I'm sure a lot of people follow, members of the CHGO on X for the excellent sports coverage in Chicago. Rashab is obviously a Bears YouTuber with a lot of great hype videos and certainly a strong followers, both on X and also YouTube subscribers. If you haven't followed Alexis Jade, you're really missing out. She has her own content, and she just released a nice video about who exactly we're getting in Caleb Williams. So make sure to follow her as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rashab. I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure your job is really kind of occupying you a lot. So hopefully you'll have more content and more time to join us next time. And thank you to Herb and thank you to Alexis for coming back again on such a short notice. And I look forward to having all four of you again down the road, or at least individually, to talk more about the Bears. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we hope to see you again next time on the Double A Team podcast live stream.